Hello and welcome to Flix and Chill with me, Luke. This time I have a special guest with me. Sam is here. So Sam, why don't you take over and introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Sam. Salutations, everybody. Coming at you from Arizona, the desert, although it's actually a little chilly this morning. So that was nice to wake up to and enjoy my morning Diet Coke. Please sponsor Luke and get him money. Pet Coke.
I wish. I
Yeah,
wish.
that's what I got this morning, man. I'm just waking up. How are you doing?
No, I'm all right. I'm all right. Just, it's middle of the afternoon here. So, early in the morning for you, middle of the afternoon for me.
Fair
Time zones,
enough.
how do they work?
You know, so Arizona is actually really fun by comparison to the rest of the United States because Arizona specifically does not alter its time zones with daylight savings at all. It just
Ah,
stays solid at where it's at. So sometimes I'm aligned with California,
hmm.
sometimes I'm aligned with Utah. So it all depends.
Yeah. See, we just have it easy here, I guess. We just, the entire UK is just one time zone. We do have the, daylight savings time and not the daylight savings time. We call it, like summertime, winter time, basically. And
So you probably
it's
ask this every podcast, but what part of the UK?
Scotland.
Scotland. Nice.
Uh,
I was actually born in Rotherham, down south in England.
oh, nice. How did you end up in Arizona then?
My dad is a doctor, and he was in residency while he was in England, and that's where I was born. Apparently, Rotherham is just a shit place to live. So
Okay.
I have no idea. I haven't been back except for like one time when I was 6. I
Yeah.
barely remember it. I remember going to the hospital where I was born.
Hmm.
That's about it.
So, okay, because that was my question. I was gonna ask how long before you moved out of the England. So I guess it was quite early.
Yeah. So at about 6 months is when we moved to Chicago,
Hmm.
and then lived in Chicago for like a year, and then we moved to Peoria, which is another part of Illinois, and then we moved to Arizona in 2001. And
Nice.
I went back to Illinois for college, and then I came back to Arizona after I was done. And here I am again, just 2 miles from my parents' house. So,
You just love Arizona that much.
uh, yeah, it's not bad.
Okay.
Low state income tax.
See, that's one of the things I find fascinating about like the United States in general, as a person who's never been there, but I've heard a lot of things about it. I don't understand how certain states have like, because I know you don't have just one tax, you have several different taxes. And one of them, like the income tax, there's no income tax in some of them. I'm like, what? How?
Yeah, I it's based on states' rights. They're just like, okay, that's up to you. There will be a national income tax based off of a certain percentage that you make,
Hmm.
and after that, it's up to the state how much they want to individually tax you on top of that. Some states like Florida are like, we could not care and we're not going to tax you. And
Yeah.
people move to Florida, but then Florida is just complete anarchy as it is. So, and then Texas is like that as well, and
Yes.
its own little version of anarchy. But
Hmm.
Arizona's got a pretty low state income tax. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's not much. It's and my tax returns are coming, so let's go. I'm excited about that.
Nice. Well, let's hope, they're gonna
Yeah,
be nice and positive for you.
yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Not a problem. So obviously, two of us, we love movies. That's one thing we have in common. But other than that, if you had a Tinder profile, or maybe have you ever had a Tinder profile before we go into that?
For like a solid week and a half.
Okay.
It was actually right before I met my wife. We met in college. Actually,
Oh,
no, I hadn't met her. It was right before we started dating, and I didn't even go on it. I think
I
I went
see.
on there once. I think I
Hmm.
swiped right like 3 times, and I was like, you know what, this is a waste of my time. I'm gonna go do math homework, and so I went and I did my homework instead.
I
But
see.
yeah, I think I waited until like we've been dating for like a couple of months, and I was like, oh yeah, I should probably deactivate that. So
Hmm.
then I went in and checked it and deleted it. Is that
Nice.
in the UK as well?
like Tinder, yeah. The scene here, I'm guessing like this is how I met my girlfriend, so I'm not gonna complain about Tinder. And this is like nowadays, nowadays everything is online. So many, that's really, I guess, the method to meet people. And obviously, some people are there just to hook up. Some people are there looking for something more than just a hookup. And then it's up to you whether you find those people, you know.
Fair enough.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so what are your, well, how would your Tinder profile look like, right? So obviously, again, you love movies, I love movies, but what else makes Sam Sam? What are your likes? What are your dislikes? Any other hobbies?
I think so. Probably my biggest hobby aside from watching movies is playing basketball. I love to play
Right?
basketball, talk basketball, watch it. It's a
Mm-hmm.
great sport. It's so fun. And there's so much you can get into with the sport with like how it's played at different levels of basketball, different levels of professional basketball.
Mm-hmm.
There's always talking about how the game has changed over decades and the super annoying debates like who's better, this player, or this
Yeah.
player or that player, this team or that team, or this move or that move. And it's you can talk about those things all live long day to kingdom come, as they say, but
Mm-hmm.
I I find that kind of boring at a certain point. So there's basketball. I'm a big Funko Pop collector.
Oh,
They're all over this room, but I don't have my desk set up where you can see them
mm-hmm.
behind me. They're all like in front of me, so I can look at them while I'm working.
I
And
can see a
then
shelf behind you. There's a like a couple of there.
yeah, there's
No.
some
Yeah.
over here, but you can't totally see them. And then there's a lot more over on this side.
Yeah.
Uh, Lots of Star Wars, lots of basketball Funko Pops again. Lego sets, I'm into that as well.
Okay.
And then I like doing math in my spare time. It's a good way to keep your brain sharp. Uh,
Wow.
then I'm studying to try to pass the actuary exams eventually, so that'll be good. And then
Okay.
I work insurance in my full time job, so that's what pays the bills and keeps me afloat.
Mm-hmm.
I would say insurance is like a special interest, but I got good at it over time, so you just stick it out.
Yeah.
And other than that, I love spending time with my wife and my family and her families. Her family lives back in the Midwest part of the United States, and my family is all right around here. So we just had everybody over from my family yesterday
Mm-hmm.
to watch Dune, the first one again, before the
Nice.
second one comes out in a week. So that was fun to have everybody over. We definitely turned on the subtitles, and at some points it was so freaking loud, and at some points it was dead quiet because
Yeah.
Danny Villeneuve knows how to make stuff with sound. So I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that. Um, I think that's probably a lot of the main stuff about me. Just I work a good job, good pay,
Mm-hmm.
and I come home and I watch movies, play video games. I need to write my review for Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League, and then yeah, that's me.
Sounds like
Thanks.
you're living the life.
Yeah, this is a great life. Very happy and blessed with where I am. So good.
Couple of questions from there. So first of all, do you know how many Funko Pops figures you actually have or own?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I should have kept count, but I don't have a count somewhere. It's probably just north of 100, but it can't be. It's not like 200 or 300. And I know there's
Okay.
people who are in the hundreds or maybe even over 1,000 who
Mm-hmm.
are collectors. So it's
Okay.
fun.
And a second question that kind of caught my attention. You do math for fun.
Yeah, it's
Like,
honestly I find it enjoyable to practice it and just remember how to do. I'm not like doing calculus for fun. That sucks. I never liked calculus. My
okay.
degree is in actuarial science, so I had to get through calculus, but I always like statistics and doing this kind of math and that kind of math to help myself stay sharp and see where things come from and to really break down an individual like data point. I thought it was always interesting to hear about that. So that's why I like basketball too, is because there's the artistry of playing basketball and watching it, and then there's also just this super data driven side.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that for both parts of it as well.
So what kind of okay, so let's say you're in a mood for some math, which is a sentence I never thought I would say. What kind of math you would then, do?
Oh, I'm in a mood to do math. I'd probably work. It's also studying for myself for passing actuary exams. So I'd probably work on. It's not. Probably the best way to put it is just. Um, it's hard to. I can't remember all the right words, and all the math nerds out there are probably beating me down for not remembering all the right words. But I I like working on probability based stuff and working on uh, conditional fact, conditional probability. I find that kind of math really interesting, and then different formulas and different kinds of distribution, like the Poisson distribution. I always thought was really interesting. So it's just because its formula is interesting and the name is fun. It's because the
Yeah.
name sounds so much like poison. So I find that really interesting. But yeah,
Okay. I am I'm not even gonna pretend that I know what exactly you just said. So
sometimes I don't know what I'm talking about either. So I'm
I that's it's all good. That's I don't think I ever met anybody who would tell me, "Oh yeah, I just do math in my spare time for fun."
I mean, I won't by any means say I'm the smartest person I've ever met.
Hmm.
There were people in my program at college who were definitely smarter than me and helped me out lots of steps. And I usually give shout outs to my family, and that'll probably happen as we talk more. But
Hmm.
shout out to Rachel for helping me with math for 4 years of college.
Nice.
She'll never listen to this, but maybe she will. And she'll
Yeah,
hear
and then
it.
she'll be happy for that shout out.
Hopefully, but I don't think she'll ever hear it. So
Okay,
you never know though.
exactly. Okay, last question about this math, and then I promise I'll drop it. Is
Oh
there
no
like a
problem.
website or app you would use for it?
Oh, like web. So I do most of my studying on coaching actuaries, and
Okay.
then I mean, if you really just want like Wolfram Alpha is just like a mega calculator. It's a website that's just a mega calculator. So if you
Okay.
ever are just like dead in the water and like I don't know what to do, and
Hmm.
like somebody and you're looking at a movie and there's like a complicated formula on the screen and you want to know what it means, you could copy and paste it into Wolfram Alpha and you'll actually get some kind of answer or explanation as to what's happening.
Wow. Okay. Something new. I've never heard of that, but this is actually why I do this podcast because this is I would have never I don't think I would have ever actually knew about it before talking to you.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. So you said you live in Arizona, right? So
yeah.
we don't have to specify it all good. So
Oh
what
yeah.
if I asked you, Sam, hey, I'm going there for a week, like let's say holiday. Where would you recommend me, or where would you take me, to see some things, like do some sightseeing? Where would we go to eat some delicious food? What would you recommend for like a nice week of holiday?
I mean, you're gonna have to travel around the state a little bit. I
Okay.
would say to start, the big thing is the Grand Canyon's here.
Mm.
Like this is the easy place to see the Grand Canyon. If
Hmm.
you're nuts and you want to hike the Grand Canyon, which you're allowed to do, you totally can do that. The other some fun, relaxing stuff. I always liked going Salt River tubing. I thought that was always fun and relaxing. That'll take up a day. If you want to go experience like a party scene, go to some nightlife type things. Scottsdale here is big.
Hmm.
You may get lucky because it seems like at least once every 10 years, it seems like the Super Bowl is here
Oh.
because one of the suburbs of Phoenix or one of the, I guess not boroughs because that's not the right word, but one of the like metro cities within the Phoenix greater area, Glendale,
Hmm.
has this massive American football stadium where they have the Super Bowl. It seems like every other year. The Probably the biggest year they had it was 2008, and that was when the Tom Brady and the New England Patriots were 18-0 coming into the Super Bowl and lost to
Oh.
Eli Manning and the New York Giants. So that was kind of funny and
Hmm.
just hilarious in general. There's two big universities. I don't think like unless you are looking at them to attend, but University of Arizona and then Arizona State University are here. There's other good colleges
Hmm.
as well. Um, Flagstaff is probably where I'd recommend just for a relaxing vacation because it is much cooler up there. It's very green. You're not too far from anywhere you may want to go.
Hmm.
I probably my favorite place to live because I lived in a couple of places in Arizona, spent a lot of time would be Tucson, just
Okay.
because that's where University of Arizona is, and
Hmm.
it has a college town feel to it, but at the same time, there's lots of stuff you can go do around town. You asked for like a food recommendations place. I don't have a specific one I'd give you, but like if you see a non chain Mexican food restaurant, that just walk in and order
Okay.
what you want because that's what's going to work out for you. And I always liked Mexican food. That's what I'm
Hmm.
going to go eat after this. I'm kind of boring because I just like Chipotle here, but big that's like a big chain restaurant in the states.
Yeah.
But I think you pop into any local Mexican food place around here, and you're going to find something good.
Sounds good and sounds delicious. Like, I don't know if I've ever had like a authentic Mexican food, but I'm always up for trying new things.
It's the best place to try it outside of Mexico is Arizona or Texas. New
Yeah.
Mexico and California too, but California is so overpopulated and overpriced.
Mm.
Arizona is a good alternative, and Texas is crazy. So Arizona is the right choice. Come here.
I see. I see. I'll take you on your word. So with that, we can move into this or that, a quick game where I'll give you two options and you tell me which one you prefer. So, iOS or Android?
I have iOS.
All right. Any particular reason why, or
Nope.
just gotten used to that and you don't want to change?
Yeah, I've had an Apple iPhone since I was 17, so just
Yeah,
haven't changed.
nice. No, no, valid reason. TV shows or movies?
Movies, still movies. TV is easy to watch in my opinion, and that's not something wrong.
Hmm.
It's certainly not a bad thing, but I feel like if you really want to watch a movie, you kind of have to focus in, and I appreciate that a little bit.
Okay,
So I'd go with movies.
nice. Tea or coffee?
Coffee. I'm not a tea guy, but
Yeah.
I'll drink I'll drink coffee every now and then.
What is your order or how do you drink your coffee?
Uh, I'll have a little bit of coffee with my cream, as they say.
I see. Fair enough.
So I don't, yeah, I don't like the bitter taste, so I give me some sugar-free vanilla creamer and put it in there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Money or free time?
free time. I mean, money buys you lots of stuff, but having free time and the ability to spend time with the people you care about and see movies is always a good thing to do.
That truly is. Honesty or other people's feelings?
Probably honesty. I
Hmm.
mean, I can't really control how other people feel, so
Hmm.
it's best. Why not both? Like, be tactful with it, but
Yeah,
why not both?
agreed. Ninjas or pirates?
About neither. They're both. I mean, I guess ninjas maybe had some kind of honor code, but pirates were terrible people.
Hmm.
I guess I would probably pick ninjas because I think they were like political warriors at a certain point, but I don't
Yeah.
know.
Okay. All right. And the last one, free will or destiny?
Um, I think the idea of free will takes away so much of, sorry, the idea of destiny takes away so much of what makes a person a person.
Hmm.
And if there's some script that everything in the universe is following, then I'm not to say what's the point, but there's no sense of choice, and there's no
Hmm.
any choice that you make is like I was always going to pick that. Versus, free will implies the idea that you can experience new things and you can change what you want to about your life.
Yeah. You can change the outcome. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And do you have any hot takes or controversial opinions you're willing to share?
I mean, movie based,
Sure.
definitely. The movie based one is, I believe, firmly from the bottom of my heart that Noah Baumbach is a hack. And honestly,
Ooh.
he's every movie he makes, he's huffing from his own life, and it's rather pathetic in my opinion.
How many
So,
have you seen?
so I haven't seen everything, so I
Okay.
will not say every movie he
Hmm.
makes. But it seems like a lot of the movies he makes are just huffed and pulled from his life. So probably the biggest example that I really didn't like was Marriage Story. Now, that's not to say I didn't think the movie was good. I definitely thought it was.
Hmm.
But as I'm sitting there watching this, I'm like, you're writing this about your divorce. This
Hmm.
is about your own divorce. And maybe it's not following beat for beat everything exactly that happened. But I think if you're going to brand yourself as a creative writer and director, pulling directly from your own life is not something that I think should be encouraged. I think you can
Hmm.
draw on those experiences and those emotions. That's fully fair and reasonable. I mean, write what you know is what everybody says all the time, but it's
Yep.
not like write your memoirs. You're not Sergeant York. Like, I don't want to hear about your divorce in a
Hmm.
movie. Like,
Hmm.
yes, it's seeing a good story about emotion and what hurts people and what moves them this way or that, and what causes them to make these decisions is interesting from a perspective and a vantage point, but also you're just aping your own life. I
Yeah.
much preferred Squid and the Whale because I thought there was a little more innocence in that and a little more like he's still hurting from
Hmm.
this. He's
Hmm.
still hurting from his own parents' divorce. So I kind of respected that one a little bit. But then Marriage Story, which I actually saw Marriage Story before I saw Squid and the Whale. I
Hmm.
liked it at first, and then the more and more I thought about it, it was like, maybe I don't respect this script as much. And it kind of bugs me that his name is right there in bright pink letters on like the Barbie like opening credits. It's like this is a movie for women, man. Like,
Hmm.
I'm not saying men can't enjoy it and it's attacking men. I don't think that at all, but like it kind of annoyed me a little bit. It was like, I mean, you definitely contributed to this. I mean, Greta Gerwig is his partner,
Hmm.
but it was kind of odd to see that. It was similar in the same way as when the credits would pop up for the first Black Panther movie at the very end, the last name, when they're like, and these are some older, slightly more established actors. The last name they showed was Andy Serkis, and it's like, really?
Hmm.
This is a movie about the African experience or this fictional African country. Like,
Hmm.
why is a white guy the last name here? Like, it's kind of dumb. So
Okay. Hmm.
seeing seeing Noah Baumbach's name tacked on there, it's kind of like, let's divert the attention away from who this movie is for, and
Hmm.
it always annoyed me a little bit.
Okay, that's fascinating. I'm trying to process everything you just said. I'll
Yeah,
definitely give you, I'll agree to an extent because I've seen quite a few of his movies, and not, most of them are not really for me. But I don't think it's for the reason you mentioning. I feel like I always have a disconnect with his movies because he obviously grew up in this different society of people I'm used to, which is fine. Like, like they're almost like New York elites. That's the
yeah,
best way out. How would I describe it? So
yeah,
many of their problems are just so foreign to me.
yeah.
And but that's why I was actually gonna ask, but you've answered it before I even asked whether you've seen Squid and a Whale, because I was so ready, quote unquote, to like, yeah, yet another Noah movie I'm just not gonna get, and it's kind of beloved-ish. And I actually appreciated it much more than I thought I would, because the moment you understand where he's coming from, that's the moment you're like, yeah, he actually is like very reflective of himself, which I didn't really spot in many of his other movies. So,
Mhm.
and as a child of divorce, the Marriage Story, in certain aspects, it just hits too close to home. Like just the perspective of two people who are going through a divorce, and it just brings out the worst of them.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's like, I will say not to that extent, but I don't think it's just his experience. I think many people, and that's why it resonated with many people, because we,
yeah.
to an extent, have seen something like that, or lived through something like that. But no, like, okay, I still
And
haven't seen White Noise. Have you? What is your opinion
I
on
thought
that?
So of those three movies we've mentioned, and I know there's more, but of those three, I'd probably put Squid and the Whale one, then I'd probably put Marriage Story two, and then three, and it's not even like a close third of those three. Like White
Hmm.
Noise, I thought was a mess, and I
Okay.
wouldn't really attribute that to him
Hmm.
as a director pulling from his own life. That's I thought that script was a mess. And I've
Okay.
not read the novel it's based off of. It's another one of those novels where they're like, this is unfilmable. Like you can't make this a movie. And every time I feel like every time somebody says that about a piece of literary source material, it's like somebody's gonna do it.
Yeah.
Like you're just asking for somebody to try. Like I remember they said that about Watchmen for years, and then Zack Snyder made his movie. And it's having read that comic, obviously there's a lot of things that he moved away from,
Hmm.
but it was honestly not that bad. It's definitely not the worst movie I've ever seen, but I
Especially of
read it.
his.
Yeah, I read the script. Yeah, especially this. Having now just seen Rebel Moon Part One,
Oh shit. Yep.
but it's. I suppose that's another hot take. I don't hate Zack Snyder. I hate his fans. His fans are annoying, but he's. I think Zack Snyder's a pretty chill dude.
Hmm.
Again, on the topic of Barbie, when they made the Zack Snyder joke, apparently they asked him about it, like, "Hey, did you see that?" And he was like, "Yeah, I did. I thought it was funny." And I was like,
Hmm.
"All right, you're chill, man. You're a cool dude. You just want to make slow mo action movies."
Yes. I've heard interview on because I'm that kind of nerd who listens to DGA podcast, Director Guild Award podcast, and he had episodes about the Rebel Moon. And what I found fascinating is many directors, when they come there and talk about their movies, they always, go with like the ideas that would inspire them, all that. And he talks about it, but on many questions, like his answers to those were like really chill to the point you're like, yeah, we just kind of did this. Like, yeah, no big deal. There was no really nothing too deep about it. Like, oh yeah, Seven Samurai that. And I was like, damn, he kind of seems like he's having fun. And that movie, I wish I could have that fun with him with that movie. I was talking to about this on a SIFT writers room, not writers room, on the review roundup.
Yeah,
I'm an ex Snyder fan. Like in a sense, I still like him, and I used to love him, but I feel like now he has been stuck in one place creatively for the last at least a decade. And I say that as somebody who actually loves Man of Steel. But ever since that movie, everything he's done since, it's just was not so great. And Rebel Moon is just the cherry on top of a questionable cake.
I think Man of Steel was two good movies that got crammed into one movie that made that one movie a mess.
Okay.
Because I think a first movie about Superman deciding to be Superman, of like I have this power, I have to do something with it. I'm not. It's not I'm better, but I'm capable of doing so much.
Yeah.
Why not do something? And then the second movie of okay, now all these people who are capable of the same things I am are here, and this
Hmm.
code I had of like I have to protect this planet,
Hmm.
like, but I'm not going to kill anybody. Now that comes into question. I feel like that would have been a very good Man of Steel too, and they just put two movies together. I
Okay.
honestly see them as two separate movies. Like I'll watch the first half, and I think it's very reflective of
Hmm.
the idea of Superman and choosing to do that to yourself and accepting that burden. And then the second movie is you have to face somebody who has all the same capabilities as you
Hmm.
and is stronger, but they're coming to destroy your adopted home. And I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And I honestly think it's an interesting bit of writing to have Superman morally struggle over the idea of killing somebody who is not a direct blood relative, but is a relative in the sense of you're now an endangered species, and this is maybe one of the only people left
Yeah.
of your species of people in the universe.
Hmm.
So you have to, but they're going to kill your whole planet if they have to.
Hmm.
So what are you going to do about it? And I appreciated that. But
Hmm.
Batman versus Superman was a mess. I think the Snyder Cut 4 hour movie is, there was a reason Warner Brothers cut that down. It's
Yeah.
because it was too long.
And it wasn't actual a cut. It was just a pretty much a brand new movie to a very large extent. So the thing he kind of was saying the entire time, like, "Oh, it's almost there, it's almost there," and then they spent additional 40 millions. They didn't spend that on snacks, did they? So it's kind of like, was it almost there though? Was it?
And to spend $40 million on something you're going to dump on a streaming service is kind of a very poor financial decision. They definitely should have put that in theaters. I don't think they would have made their $40 million back, but they could have made some money off of it.
I
And
mean,
Warner
Rebel
Brothers,
Moon has
yeah,
cost like apparently up around 200,
yeah.
Netflix just and I
That's Netflix though. They don't put anything out there unless it's for awards consideration. Like Warner Brothers, your whole thing is
mm,
you're a theatrical company. Netflix, I get it. I don't
mhm,
agree with it all the time, but like, I kind of understand why you made that decision.
mhm. I like look, I'm not saying like, yeah, get Netflix get him money. Yeah, fair enough. Get him 200 plus a million for Rebel Moon. Just I'm not quite sure about that decision to be honest. Especially
Yeah,
now having seen it. And of course, we will have a director's cut of that movie, which it's on Netflix. Netflix, pretty much, from what I understand, still does not interfere. Nobody from Netflix interferes with the process. Whatever you give them, they release. Almost all the time, from what I understand. That's why many people still love Netflix or love working with Netflix. And somehow he makes this movie that's 2 hours 20, and now we're gonna have a direct, not only part two, but we also gonna have a director's cut of part one. That's like 3 hours, and I'm like, I'm just confused.com. I I don't understand anything anymore.
I think I think allowing him to have a director's cut that was longer was an intentional move that they made, where they're
Mm,
like, "Hey, we know we're going to get people to show up and watch this longer cut if we let it be released later. We have no intention of keeping it under lock and key, but we're going to release it later. What do you think?" And I think they probably agreed with that. I think Snyder was like, that's a decent marketing move. And again, he is pretty chill. Maybe he just didn't care. He was like, yeah, whatever.
And
That's
I
fine.
wonder how much he is playing into the joke of release the Snyder Cut, how it's still being referenced, whether every single one of his movies from now on will have some sort of director's cut.
I wonder. I think it's gotten funny to the extent of like so there was Batman versus Superman, and then there was the longer version of the movie, which adds
Yep.
in some stuff about Clark doing some investigative journalism, and you get a little more Wonder Woman,
Hmm.
and then they had but then after the poor reception, they immediately turned around and were like, Suicide Squad, we need to re-edit this, and we need to brand this as a little more Guardians of the Galaxy than dark and gritty. And now there's people, and the people who have been seriously saying release the David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad. I'm like, shut up, like I know this movie is bad, but like
Hmm.
I honestly kind of enjoy that first Suicide Squad movie. I've
Hmm.
seen the second one with James Gunn. I think the James Gunn Suicide Squad is much better and probably the best DCEU movie
Hmm.
by far. But I still enjoy I still enjoyed the first Suicide Squad, and mostly it was because of Margot Robbie and Will Smith. Like they
Yeah.
just carried that movie and made it fun and goofy, and I
Hmm.
appreciate that part of it. And I guess it was fun to see Cara Delevingne be a villain and be terrible at it, but
Yes.
that was fun.
All right. Well, with that, we can move to the Flix part of this podcast. So, Sam, what is the last new movie you've rated 5 out of 5? So, just for this podcast, any new movie is 2020 and further.
The last movie I gave a 5 out of 5 to was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I
Yes.
I got close. I gave a few 4.5s. I'm pulling up my
Mm-hmm.
letterbox, and I've
Mm-hmm.
given a few 4 stars for 2024 movies,
Mm-hmm.
but no 5 stars yet. But 2023, yeah, it was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was the best movie for 23. I'm trying to see if I gave anything. Uh, Everything Everywhere All at Once, I gave 5 stars to. I think
Mm-hmm.
before that, I maybe gave some 5 stars to. So this is no longer answering what was your most recent question, but
That's fine.
I really enjoyed Drive My Car,
Same.
and I gave that a 10 out of 10 too. I was like, this is the best movie of the year. Like, how are they for 2021? I was like, how are they burying this? Like, this movie is incredible,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't see it until it came to this like small art movie theater here in Arizona, and I was like immediately taken with it emotionally. I was like, this is incredible. Like, I can't believe this movie has gotten. I can't even remember what won best. Oh, it was Coda. Coda won Best Picture that year,
Yes.
and I definitely think Coda was deserving of those Best Picture options.
Hmm.
I would rather it have won. The only other movie I would have liked to have won would have been Dune, but Dune was felt very Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring to me, where they were setting up for a second bigger part that's going to sweep in a lot of things.
Hmm.
But Drive My Car, I really enjoyed. It was so moving emotionally and touching with its discussions of life and death and its discussions of understanding relationships that
Hmm.
I thought it was incredible in a way that a lot of movies aren't that tender and that open about what it's like to lose a loved one and what it's like to try to move on and live your life and let people in after you've lost the person that matters the most to you.
Hmm.
And because of that, that was why I have it as the best movie of 2021. I'm looking at my rankings now. Dune Part One is right after that, and then it's not a 10 out of 10, but I really enjoyed Nobody, the John Wick esque movie with Bob Odenkirk.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought that was incredible.
Hmm.
Really, from that year, I'm really big on A Quiet Place Part Two.
Hmm.
I think it got a lot of people saying this is the same as the first Quiet Place movie, which I can see,
Hmm.
but I think the themes of the movies aren't the same. I think the first Quiet Place movie, the theme is how far will you go for your children? What are you willing to do to protect your children and give them a good life? And I
Hmm.
think the second one is, are you willing to let your children grow up and let them come into their own as a person and defend themselves? I
Hmm.
really like that.
Those are some great picks. And speaking of Drive My Car, if you love that movie, very strong recommend. And I would say it's as good as that movie, even though it's totally different by the same director, Ryusuke Hamaguchi. I want to pronounce his name like that. If not, if I'm butchering it, I do
Got
apologize.
no idea.
There is a movie from the same year, by the way. He had two, also written and directed by him, Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy.
Oh, okay.
If you've never heard of it, don't Google anything about it. All I can tell you is there are three unrelated stories. So movie consists of three stories, and each are so unique, so human, and so moving. And that movie just feels so lovely and great. And I wish more people would talk about that movie. As much I love and enjoy Drive My Car, that one is as good as that movie, even though it deals with different things altogether. And it's only quote unquote 2 hours. Well, whereas Drive My Car is 3 hours long.
Yeah. Yeah. Drive My Car was not a
Yeah.
nice first experience. The literal last movie that I saw in theaters was I guess it wasn't the last movie. One of the last two movies I saw in theaters was Drive Away Dolls,
Mm.
and that was a brisk 84 minutes.
Hmm.
It felt like 2 hours, but it was a brisk 84 minutes. I was like, oh, I could still go get very late dessert if I wanted to. Nice, but I didn't. So
Nice. What is the last teen movie you would rate 5 or 5? So anything in between 2003 and 2019.
you said 2003 and 2019.
Correct.
Uh, so everybody talks about Parasite, and I
Hmm.
really did enjoy Parasite quite a bit. So I gave that a 5 out of 5. But for most of 2019, the best movie I had of the year, and it's now number three. So these are my top three for 2019 because that was a really great year.
Hmm.
Was Parasite, then Portrait of a Lady on Fire,
Hmm.
and then number three is Booksmart.
Nice.
Booksmart is what if Superbad wasn't sexist and was a lot funnier in a lot more places, and what if McLovin was Princess Leia's daughter?
Mhm.
And I appreciate that casting choice more than the guy who plays McLovin because he just creeps me out now. Anytime I see him in something other than Superbad, I'm like, this guy creeps me out.
Mm.
I can't put my finger on it, but I'm not like rooting for bad news to happen. If but like something came out that like he likes to collect like baby giraffes, I'd be like, you know what? I'm not surprised. That guy looks kind of creepy. So I'm sorry, Christopher Mintz Plots. I think that's his name, but
Yes.
look, maybe cut your hair different or something, man, because you're freaking me out. I don't know what it is.
I think
So
it's kind of on, his brand to be like quirky looking, I guess.
it probably is, but he's forever going to be number two in that area because Michael Sarah hasn't beat by miles. I mean, and especially because of, we're going to keep talking about Barbie, I guess, because he was in Barbie, and
Alan.
yeah, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, he'll have that forever. Juno, he's got that, and then also Superbad. So
Hmm. Hmm.
like he's just been going to be beat out for that his whole life. So it is what it is. But yeah, Booksmart I really found humorous
Hmm.
and very on top of the comedy, which is amazing, and some great sight gags and some great scenes of jokes. A lot more emotionally powerful because the scene of because the main crux of the friends breaking apart is Jonah Hill realizing that he's not going to go with Michael Cera to knowing that they're not going to school together, but then being like, "Oh, you're going to live with McLovin? Like, why would you do this? Like, well, I was
Yeah.
like, dude, who cares who he lives with? You're not going to school together. Like,
Hmm.
it's not your problem. Like, why do you hate this kid so much? I always thought that was a little stupid, but then
Hmm.
again, it's 2000s comedy. The actual emotional breaking point of Booksmart of uh, her name's not Beanie Feldstein, but Caitlin Deaver's character realizing that her crush was into somebody else the whole time and not even into her, and then wanting to go because she's very upset emotionally and she can't handle that in the moment. I thought, and then her Beanie Feldstein telling her, "I'm not leaving with you. You always chicken out on this stuff," and then them finally breaking. It's heartbreaking to see friends yell at each other and go at each other like that because it can be a reminder of maybe friends who you've lost because they weren't willing to stand with you or they weren't willing to hang around.
Hmm.
And then that makes the sweetness of 10 minutes later when they get back together as friends and when Beanie Feldstein comes and bails her out of jail. Well, actually, they don't even bail her out. They like give up information on a serial killer.
Oh yeah.
Like that's the best part of the movie is they're like, we know who this guy is. We got this. We're gonna barter for your release,
Hmm.
and they get her released. I thought that was incredible. There's so many good young people in that movie already. We said Beanie Feldstein and Caitlin Deaver, but I'm gonna go with the guy whose name I can't remember first, who's in the Scream movies.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, I hate that guy and his sister in the new Scream movies because they're so annoying. But you
Hmm.
know, that is what it is. Somebody has to make meta commentary. But he's really good in Booksmart and charming. Obviously, there's her name's escaping me, but Carrie Fisher's daughter is in it, and she's terrific.
I think Billy Lard, I want
Yes,
to
Billy Lord.
say. Lord,
Billy
yeah.
Lord. She's terrific. And it's like, you know, Carrie Fisher's passing is a tragedy, but her
Yeah.
daughter has talent. And I'm waiting for somebody to give her an A-list project to lead on her own because I know she'd do incredible with that. There's her, there's Molly Gordon in it as well. There's so many talented young performers in that movie, and I think it doesn't get enough credit for
Hmm.
how funny it is and how irreverent it is in this PC era that we live in.
Hmm.
And I really appreciated that. I'm not for like screw the PC-ness and being woke, but like I appreciate people just going for it and making raunchy jokes sometimes. It's a good thing for your movie. You don't have to be too safe. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
No, yeah, 100%. I watched Booksmart once and I really liked it. I didn't really love it, but I feel like I'm due for a rewatch because yeah, everybody like seems to be very high on that movie and I'm pretty high on that too, so I just need to rewatch it and make sure I didn't miss anything obvious. No, but and you mentioned Portrait of the Lady on Fire. That's one of those another ones like I wanted to hit me and I really liked it, but didn't quite hit me, so I need to rewatch that just to kind of try to go back to that moment. But it was a fascinating movie.
It was. And
It,
it has the best movie poster of recent years, in my opinion. Just her standing there in her dress with her dress on fire is incredible. I'm like,
oh
this
yeah.
it's like I would buy this, but I don't know. I
Hmm.
mean, I could probably just Google it and buy it off there, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I got to leave room for my Arthur Morgan poster here. So
Yes, the important stuff.
yes, the important stuff.
What is the last adult movie you would rate 5 out of 5? So anything in between 2002 and 1975.
2002 and 75.
Mm-hmm.
What did I see recently? I'm glad I keep this Google Doc of all the movies I've rated 10 out of 10.
Hmm.
I mean, I see Matrix every other year.
That's a
Um,
great choice, though.
it is. Here it is. So it came out in 1996. Back to my love of basketball, Hoop Dreams. Hoop Dreams is
Oh.
probably the best documentary ever made about any sport. It's remarkable. This story. So imagine taking the idea that Richard Linklater had for Boyhood, where
Hmm.
you're just going to follow around this one family for X amount of years. You're just going to follow them around. This movie is so all 4 years of high school. We're going to follow these two high school basketball players, and it came out in 1994. And we're going to see how well they. We're going to follow them at these camps they go to, through their state tournaments, through their choices for academia, going to this school versus going to that school, how
Hmm.
it will affect their ability to play high school basketball or maybe even professional basketball. It was really, and it's really moving to see how much this matters to these young men. I mean, now they're in their 40s, but to see how much it mattered to them and how much this game means to people really gives pause for how important it is to go out and do your best in a competition. And when somebody plays a game for a living, or if it's a young person and they play a game for fun, it really does mean the world to them.
Hmm.
And the love of the game is such an important thing, and because it can lead to so many things, it can lead to a better life for the rare few that are talented enough.
Hmm.
And I think it was a really important kind of odyssey movie about chasing those dreams. So I'd say Hoop Dreams is up there. There's a lot of great sports documentaries. There should be more. I'm
Hmm.
tired of seeing the Rocky movie every other year. Not to
Yeah.
hate on Creed movies, but I don't need to see an underdog movie every other year. Give me something else here. Like, let's give me a documentary. Give me a good documentary about
Hmm.
this or that happened.
Yeah. I've heard of Hoop Dreams and I still haven't seen it, but I know for many people, it's up there. Like it's very highly rated. So
Yeah,
I guess yet another movie, to add on my ever-growing list of to watch movies.
I
That
got rid of that list.
no,
I
it's my mental list of like, what
okay.
I keep in mind. Yeah, I don't actually have any because it would be like over 1,000 movies easily.
Yeah, I had a list like that, and it was very large. And I just kept adding recommendations that I'd see from YouTube videos from creators that I like, friends, other
Hmm.
movie connoisseurs, stuff that big time directors and filmmakers talked about as an example. And I was like, this is too much.
Yep.
It's starting to feel like a chore to watch a movie, and it shouldn't feel like this. So I got rid of it. So shout out to Cody, a coworker who told me to get rid of it. So thank you, Cody. I have gotten rid of it, and it's been very great to get rid of it.
That's two shout outs now. So now
And
let's
they're
keep
not
it
my
going.
family, so
Nice. And what is the last old movie you would rate 5 out of 5? So anything 1974 and older.
1974 and older.
Hmm.
Is that the year The Godfather 2 came out? Because I'm just picking that.
I think 1973, so you should be fine. Let me quickly check. Because I think
Yeah,
Godfather is 72. Yeah, 72. And oh, 74. You're right. Yes, part two.
I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna look at the '60s and see what I find.
Okay, okay. Take it down.
Let's see. That's the '60s. Let's look at the '50s.
Hmm.
I didn't see every. It seems like every other year I end up rewatching 12 Angry Men. I think it's just a great movie every time. It's such a good representation of trying to figure out if a person is good or not, and
Hmm.
trying to determine the fate of another person's life based off facts that aren't even definitive, and
Yeah.
trying to decide what happens to a person when the full story isn't there and isn't available is a risky thing to do.
Hmm.
And you can't even keep your own prejudices put to the side is another thing to remember when it comes to that, because that's what ultimately derails this jury of people's decision is they can't even put aside their own prejudices. I
Hmm.
forget if maybe that one holdout didn't know the guy or something, but knew the guy or something. But it's a great movie. So I'd say 12 Angry Men. I'm trying to get to some of those older classics, but hey, every year I watch It's a Wonderful Life, and that came out in the 40s. So
Yeah. No, and 12 Angry Men I've only watched once when I started to, my cinephile journey. And yeah, it's a what a movie.
Oh
What
yeah,
a movie. And I've heard the good things about like there's a remake from I want to say 90s or like either 80s or 90s. It's also supposed to be pretty good. And I
really.
think it's a TV movie if I'm remembering it correctly.
So I've
And
been on a.
mhm.
So I did watch from this year. It's not an older movie, but it's a courtroom movie. I really liked Anatomy of a Fall from this year. I
I
thought that
still
was
haven't seen that. I still
it's fantastic. Okay,
That's
they
what I
did.
keep hearing.
Oh, they did remake it. Yeah, in the night. No, no, it's there's a TV movie that this was based off of originally that came out in the 19 like a few years before. It's
But there's
from
a but there's
it's
a
just called so it's from this old TV show just called Studio One.
mm-hmm.
Of memorable dramas is what it is. And so the very first episode of season 7 of this old show is called 12 Angry Men.
But there is a movie, yeah, I just found it on IMDb, 12 Angry Men from 1997 TV movie with Jack Lemmon, George C. Scott, damn, Courtney B. Vance, just James Gandolfini, Tony Danza. Quite a cast. Wow.
Where was it? 1990.
Seven, apparently. And directed by William Friedkin, who did The Sorcerer, who did The French Connection, The Exorcist. So yeah, I heard good things about that. I heard like it's not as great as the original, but I heard pretty good things about this TV movie. So that's yet again on the imaginary watch list, but just I don't think that's anywhere available right now for me to stream. So
William Friedkin. My
yeah.
goodness. Oh he just passed.
Yeah, like a
Wow.
year or 2 years ago, yeah. It was, yeah, what a career.
Before it was this year. It was
Was
two
it this
months
year?
before. Yeah, 2 months before the new Exorcist movie came out. Yeah, didn't
Mm.
have to see that. Good for him. Okay. Wow.
I s-
Okay. Wow. This is a pretty good cast. Jack Lemmon, Courtney. You were right. All right.
mhm.
This. Check this out. It's on the
No,
Roku channel. Oh, I can watch that. I can watch that for free. Let's go.
nice,
Just gotta go over to my
nice,
parents' house. Be like, hey, I'm gonna watch TV for an hour and a half.
nice. Well, speaking of different decades, what is your favorite movie decade?
I mean, I enjoyed the 2020s so far. I thought we've had a couple of really good years.
Hmm.
I really came into my own loving movies in the 2010s, but I don't think I can answer that question accurately or fairly just because I like so many different eras of movies and filmmaking. And
Hmm.
I think maybe I'll have an answer at some point. It seems like everything I see from the 70s is at least good, which
Yeah.
is crazy because I've seen a ton of crap in the 2020s. But
Hmm.
it seems like the 70s, they really just made them kind of different where everything was at least somewhat good.
Yeah.
And I respect it. So I'm going to have to I lean the 2020s or the 70s at this point just because I'm in the 2020s and this is when I've been able to see even more stuff. But the 2010, but the 1970s is it seems like that's the era that I got to get to eventually and just consume as much as possible.
No, that's definitely a great decade for movies, for Hollywood movies, for international movies. Just yeah, start of blockbusters. What a
Yeah,
decade.
agreed, definitely.
Do you have any other hot takes regarding movies?
Uh, I think people overhate the what's going on with the MCU of late, but I don't want to talk about the MCU because
Fair
I don't
enough.
care. Yeah, I'm tired of hearing people talk about it. Let me think. It's kind of a nuts take, and this will go to my love of basketball again. But
Hmm.
Space Jam 2 is better than Space Jam 1. They're
Oh
both
damn.
they're both pieces of garbage. They're both not good. One
Hmm.
of them you can attribute to the fact that Michael Jordan can't act, and this movie was made for children,
Hmm.
and it's just stupid. But it has the Roger Who Framed Roger Rabbit problem. Like this movie is oddly horny for no reason. Like it should not be like this, but it is, and it's stupid. The problem with the newer one is it is just a ginormous advertisement for Warner Brothers, made by Warner Brothers, which is fine. But what's interesting to me that no one ever discussed, they're just like, oh, LeBron made a Space Jam movie. Man, it's
Hmm.
like if we're gonna settle the like greatest basketball player of all time argument off acting ability, LeBron destroys Michael Jordan. It's not even close. He's such a better actor. It's not even fair. So
Is he? I only seen him in that movie, and I have a vague memories of not really like he seemed out of place. Like, and
he, he's
I'm a not a
definitely
fan of.
he definitely doesn't feel polished, but it's
Mhm,
there's something there. Like
mhm,
there's some innate ability to act that's there. And
mhm.
I've seen him be funny before, and he has a goofy sense of humor. I don't think he could be like the pinnacle of like crossing over from athletics to acting is Dave Bautista. I
Yeah.
don't think anybody will ever get to that level
Mhm,
other than Dave Bautista, but he's LeBron has something. He could
mhm.
be a good comedic actor if he had the time to invest in working on that. But it's not what he spends his time on. So I
Yeah.
don't beat him up for it. It was also very odd that this was an odd choice in the movie. And I can't believe that this is how nerdy I am about this. So the movie, they don't, so in real life, LeBron is married and he has three kids, two boys and then a daughter. They had the exact same family setup where they had a wife, a boy, and a daughter, but they didn't name them the same things. They didn't give his kids the same names. I was like, this is like you're clearly just using the same family structure that you have, and also they cast actors to be in it as opposed to his family. And I get his family's busy, and he
Mhm.
made the movie on a crunch schedule because he's an athlete. But I was like, why didn't you just use your family? Like, I get it, you're taking away roles from people who act for a living, but like, dude, just use your freaking family. Like, they're right there.
Maybe they didn't want to be on camera.
Maybe they didn't, but like one of his kids plays basketball in college and is pretty good. And his other kid is a junior in high school, and then
Okay.
his daughter is like 8. So I
Yeah.
mean, who knows? So
Mhm.
it's
Well, see with the Space Jam debate, I grew up watching the first one, so I have I guess nostalgia goggles. I have not actually rewatched it in ages. I'll give you that. So I need to get back to it or go back and actually rewatch it with my adult eyes and see how bad it actually is. From what I remember, Michael Jordan didn't stick out as much.
oh
Like,
he's bad. I rewatched it before the second one came out, and I was like, oh my gosh, dude, like
yeah.
what are you doing? Like did no did you not get asked for help at all? Like, dude, say something. Ask for a hand. Like, ask for some line delivery assistance. And like, I'll give the first one this. Bill Murray is the best part of either of those movies. Bill Murray is hilarious. Like, and he's perfect in either movie.
Yeah.
So Bill Murray's the dude.
No, Bill Murray is, he's always great in any movie. So
I've seen Ghostbusters Afterlife. He's not great in that, but I don't really blame him for that.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's definitely not the greatest of choices for him or for his filmography, I guess.
You
And
know, I feel bad when I fall asleep in movies because I'm trying to give it my full attention in the full light of day.
yep.
But usually it's not for very long.
Hmm.
But I slept through the majority of the third act of Ghostbusters Afterlife, and I woke up and all of a sudden, like Bill Murray's on screen. I was like, I know he was going to be in this, but like, how did he get here? And I was like, you know what? I could look it up, or I could go see it again. I'm too lazy to do either of those things. I don't care. This movie sucks.
Oh wait, okay, okay, I made a mistake actually. I thought you mean the Ghostbusters 2016, not and the Afterlife is the newer one. I actually kind of
Afterlife,
like that one. I
it's
actually, all right. You're not a fan.
I like the original Ghostbusters is good. I think
Hmm.
the Ghostbusters 2016 is fine.
Hmm.
I think I don't think it's very good, but I don't think it's bad. I think, and then I think Ghostbusters Afterlife was just a dumpster fire. I was like, this
Was
is
it?
I.
Tell me,
There's
why
something
did you not like it?
there's something about Paul Rudd that irks me. I can't,
Oh.
this is my wife is now bleeding into me as a person. This is how I know we are two becoming one
Hmm.
because I used to think Paul Rudd was funny, and I was like,
Hmm.
yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's good in Friends. He's good in this. He's good in Ant Man. He's good in all these other Judd Apatow movies. Like, I like Paul Rudd.
Hmm.
And then I got married, and my wife's like, I can't stand that dude. He just looks freaky, and there's something where his humor doesn't get to me. And maybe it's the fact that Ant Man Quantum Mania was absolute trash,
Mm.
and then there and in Ghostbusters Afterlife I thought was boring and it was very slow and there's no whimsy to it. Like
Hmm.
I get it, it's kind of hard to make a movie whimsical in the modern era because everybody's so cynical.
Hmm.
Everybody's on their phones 24/7. I wouldn't really say that's a one for one reason or a causation correlation,
Hmm.
but it just didn't have the same whimsy as the first one. And the first one's not really like a whimsical movie, but it's fun. And I didn't find Ghostbusters Afterlife fun. I
Okay.
thought it was somebody trying to have a good time in the middle of nowhere.
Hmm.
And that's why it didn't really work for me. I think going away from the New York setting was a mistake. I think keeping it there where there's all sorts of people, there's all sorts of crap that you can deal with and struggle with is a good choice. And I think Finn Wolfhard needs more opportunities to shine. I will see this new one, Frozen Empire, but
Hmm.
somebody made a joke on Twitter where they're like, "This looks like DLC for Ghostbusters Afterlife," and I can't get that joke out of my head. I'm like, every time I see the trailer for, it, I'm like, "Yeah, this looks like DLC for this movie."
That's I never actually thought about it like that. Kind of does, yeah, but I guess that's a nature of every sequel, to an extent.
Yeah,
Okay. DLC for Ghostbusters Afterlife. Fascinating.
shout out to that dude. I don't know who that is, but yeah, that was fun. It was a good joke.
Yeah. No, like I've enjoyed Ghostbusters. Like Afterlife, I've actually enjoyed. The only thing that slightly bothered me was the very end because they decided there was a choice without. It's fairly still recent, so I'm not gonna spoil it. There was a choice made about certain somebody coming back, and I understand it went through the proper channels, so it wasn't just the creators. But I just wish they wouldn't have made that choice. It kind of felt weird.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I think that's the thing. I think everybody who's seen a movie, they know what I'm describing, maybe poorly, because I'm not trying to give anything away for people who haven't seen it and and would like to. So the Frozen Empire, the trailer, the second one actually looks slightly better. So like the first one didn't do much for me. The second one looks kind of okay. So I was like, you know what? Back in New York, New York's freezing over. Everybody's back in the uniforms. All right,
I'm
hopefully
always
it's not gonna
down for
be.
a. I'm always down for like a major metropolitan city is deserted or overrun by zombies idea. I think it's really intriguing to do that.
Yeah. Let's hope it's not gonna be another like just nostalgia trip and like, hey, remember this? How you liked it in the 1980s? And remember this? So let's hope it's not gonna be that and it's actually gonna be something newish with those characters that are quite old now because everybody's getting old.
Yeah, I think if you're going to do that, where you're going to bring back beloved characters and casts,
Hmm.
you have to accept that this is going to be cheesy and maybe a little stupid.
Yeah.
And I, so I'll say this as well: the Cobra Kai TV show,
Hmm.
without a doubt, it is cheesy and a little stupid,
Hmm.
but it understands that it is and it doesn't care. It just leans fully into it. And it's like, we're going to be as stupid as possible. We're going to be goofy and nuts. And these fights are going to be overly emotional. And this is going to feel like it was made in the 1980s. It's
Hmm.
just going to feel like it. And I respect it for not caring. It's just like, whatever, deal with it. Also, I'm waiting for Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan to show up. And I'm just, please, that would be the best part of it. It would be great if they brought them back. But apparently, Jackie Chan's coming back for a new Karate Kid movie. So I'm always down for Jackie Chan.
I have not seen any Cobra Kai yet, as haven't actually. I've only just recently last year finished all the Karate Kid movies. I didn't grow up watching them for some reason. I don't know. They never been on my radar, so I've only watched them as I'm now grown up. And actually watched the first, well, or all the original four movies. And I heard actually decent things about the TV show, especially the first, I think, three seasons. And I think now this is the last season they're gonna release soon, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty soon. I enjoyed I think the best season is the first season, and
Hmm.
then actually I did enjoy the second season quite a bit because there always has to be some kind of big fight
Hmm.
or big confrontation, and I think the best final confrontation is the second season, and
Okay.
then the third, actually it's the fourth season is where everybody actually, I don't know, But there's another good final confrontation in one of the later seasons where it's a very well done fight in like a state championship level. And I
Hmm.
thought that was kind of cool to see again. But the second season, the final fight is like a brawl in a high school. And I really liked that.
Nice. Again, I'll probably eventually get to it, especially now when I'm caught up on all the movies. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely on my ever-growing TV queue because there's so many other, movies now, TV shows. There's so many TV shows to watch too.
Yeah. I don't really care so much about the TV show queue in my head. I have ones I want to knock out. Like my goal for this year was to get through the Daredevil show.
Mm,
Or so I bought like a yearly subscription for Disney Plus because it was for real cheap. It was like $40 for
yeah.
like a full year before they had the ad tier, so it was really nice. So I've enjoyed this so far. I'm trying to knock out a bunch of classic animated movies I haven't seen. Like
Hmm.
I'm ashamed to say I haven't seen Bambi or The Fox and the Hound. So I'm watching those. And I've also been watching the Daredevil shows on there because it's a Marvel property.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to watch that. I just finished the second season, seen the first episode of the third season. I really enjoyed the second season. I think it's going to get me maybe to try to watch the Punisher show before I lose my Disney Plus because I really
Hmm.
liked it and I'm excited to see the Punisher show because I like Frank Castle in this universe.
Hmm. I know those because they originally were Netflix shows,
Right.
before, yeah. And I have not watched single one episode of any of the like Jessica Jones, Punisher, Daredevil, any of those shows. I know most should be great. Like Jessica Jones, I heard good things about. Daredevil is the obvious, from what I remember, Daredevil is the obvious favorite amongst fans. And then Jessica Jones and Punisher are kind of also there. And there is a fourth one that's kind of bad, and I can't remember the name.
I think they made a one season of the Iron Fist and they made two seasons of Luke Cage. And
Yeah, Iron Fist.
I think people liked Luke Cage. I don't think they liked Iron Fist. And then they
No,
made
no,
two
no.
Avengers. So
Yeah, Iron Fist. I've heard yeah, mixed reaction on that. And Luke Cage, I think I heard the first season's supposed to be decent, and the second one is like, eh. But again, I've never watched a single episode, so I cannot really judge. I'm only going off what I've heard from others.
I'm gonna try to get through Punisher if I get through Daredevil before my thing
Yeah.
expires. But then after that, I want to get through Atlanta on Hulu.
Oh,
I'm gonna watch that, and then the big goal is hopefully knock out The Sopranos.
Sopranos is ace.
Yeah,
Sopranos is. I've done that binge a few years ago, and it is worth it. There are some slow moments with, as every show with like 6 or 7 seasons. But as overall, you see why it's like one of those like defining moments or defining shows of an era, and that and The Wire, which I will always rave about The Wire. That
yeah.
put HBO made it proper, like, hey, this is where the quality stuff lives. Even though nobody watches it, this is quality.
I liked True Detective season 4. I thought that was a good time being stuck in the
Same,
frozen tundra.
same. Like I've read some takes about how it was boring and like how it wasn't even and how it was slow, and I'm like, are we watching the same show?
That's True Detective. It's always been slow. Like
Yes.
anybody who says, "Oh, this is slow," like you ain't watched the Matthew McConaughey Woody Harrelson season where they're driving through the South
Hmm.
for 20% of every episode is them just driving in a car. Come on,
Yeah,
come on.
that's yeah, just people. But no, I think the reaction is overall positive, and I just saw a news that it's been renewed for a fifth season with the
Yeah,
same showrunner as the fourth season, Isa Lopez.
yeah.
So,
I saw that. I love that they're still tying in the universe stuff because
mhm,
the old lady who lived out on the ice who helped the young cop dispose of the body at the end.
mhm.
She, I think that was supposed to be Matthew McConaughey's mom from the first season.
See, I heard this theory. I have no clue where that came from. Like, have I missed something, or like, has it been
Just
stated in the
the
TV
very
show?
first episode, she said she had her husband's name or her was Cole, but she never
Mhm.
took the name, and she has a kid, but he left her years ago. So I was like,
Uh,
that's supposed to be Matthew McConaughey's mom.
I
So
must have missed that then.
I would love if they brought him back for another season of it. I think that'd be great.
I mean, Matthew McConaughey has not been in many movies recently, so I feel like he's got the time. Even though I don't know, is he
Oh,
still contemplating of running for, senator? Because I
I'd vote for
remember there was a
I'd
time
vote
where he actually was like, yeah, I might actually run because people love me.
I'd vote for him as senator.
I love as much as I like him as an actor. Let's keep them from politics. Like, let's keep celebrities like Reagan and Donald from politics because we've seen it. We've done, when they reach certain offices, it doesn't go well. It doesn't go well. So just yeah, I wouldn't want to. But again, like I'm not an American, so you guys do you. But
Thank you. I mean,
the
of
results
some
are a bit mixed.
of some of the celebrity options for politicians who are forcing themselves in that area, I'd be okay with Matthew McConaughey as opposed to some other people.
Look, if we are picking between celebrities, yes, I think he's more switched on than most.
I've
However,
also there's a few politicians I might actually take him over. Like,
there's definitely not slim pickings there when it comes to people who shouldn't be there. Even I, as a outsider, I can definitely tell. How does this person become a senator there?
oh,
Okay.
nobody knows how Marjorie Taylor Greene got there, man. Nobody knows how
How did you know I mean her?
because that lady's a clown. I'd
Oh,
rather, like, when I say I'd be okay with one specific senator, I mean her,
okay.
specifically her.
Now, if we comparing this, if we put her up against Matthew, like yeah, of course, Matthew ten times over, like no debate.
Here's my Here are my celebrity senators who we could put in
Okay,
office.
let's go.
Matthew McConaughey, we put him in. He replaces Ted Cruz from Texas.
Mhm.
I don't know where is Margie Taylor Greene from. Is she from? I thought it was Kentucky, but
I think so, but I wouldn't bet my life on it.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, Georgia. Oh,
Oh,
Donald Glover.
oh,
Done. Donald Glover. I'd take
mm,
Donald Glover in that spot. He won't do it, but
yeah.
I would put him there. Honestly, Trey Young, Atlanta Young, he's a Atlanta basketball player. He wouldn't be so bad.
Okay, I don't know that person, so I
He's too
cannot.
young. He's too young, but
Hmm.
he's too busy making millions of dollars playing basketball.
Hmm.
But I feel like he could win. I
Hmm.
mean, if Atlanta had won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, there's probably a couple of football players who could get something done. And then that crazy dude from Florida, Matt Gates, Dwayne Wade, again, basketball player, but he's beloved in Florida. I feel like he could do very well.
I thought you meant DeSantis.
I mean, he's not a senator; he was a governor, and
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't if I could get rid. Okay, so I can get rid of two. Then pick a governor. Mickey Mouse, done.
Improvement.
They already run Florida. They
Yeah.
tried to kick him out a couple of years ago. Like they tried to change some laws to affect Disney's profitability, and Disney shut them down so fast. I was like, did the Florida government just lose to Disney? That's crazy. All right, let's go.
Like what a crazy and interesting time to be alive. I'll say that. Just
Oh, definitely.
I kind of missed the time where politics were boring, and then last 10 years happened, and I'm like, yeah, it's kind of fun. It'll be almost funny if it wasn't that serious.
Yeah,
Those decisions.
it's unfortunately too serious at this point. It's a
Hmm.
serious matter. You need serious people to do it and to take leadership roles. The problem is there's too many people who think that it's a good thing for themselves as opposed to how they could help other people.
Yep.
And I feel like while I may not agree with everything he might say politically, like I think Matthew McConaughey might actually genuinely want to help other people. And that'd be a good reason, in my opinion,
Hmm.
to why I'd throw him a vote if I was a Texan. But
Yeah.
I'm here. I got to vote for Devin Booker or Kevin Durant,
Yeah.
which I'd be fine with. Oh no, Emma Stone. Emma Stone's from Arizona.
Oh, I didn't even know she's from Arizona. All right. That's a. Can you imagine her as a senator?
I think she'd probably do a pretty good job. She's a
No, I'm
mom
not saying
now.
that. I'm not saying she would do bad. I'm just saying like I cannot imagine like with the amount of talent she's got to be
Yeah,
for her to be in politics.
she wouldn't do it. I mean, but as opposed to some other Arizona figures who may or may not be in office, I'd be fine with her being in office.
There's no again no argument from me, especially from somebody who cannot even vote in your elections. So, but with that, I think we can move to the underrated part of this podcast. So, Sam, who would you say is the most underrated actor we have right now?
He's not underrated anymore because people
Hmm.
know who he is, but Daniel Kaluuya is terrific in my opinion, and
Yes.
I love seeing him do stuff. I loved him in Judas and the Black Messiah. I
Hmm.
think it's a little bit of a bummer that he was not that he was in Black Panther, but that he doesn't get an opportunity to have a larger role in
Yep.
the Marvel movies if he wanted to. Pedro Pascal as well. He's on this incredible hot streak of he had The Last of Us, he had The Mandalorian, now he's going to be Mr. Fantastic. But
Yep.
he's a very good actor, and he
Hmm.
has talent, and he has abilities that people don't really think about. They just think about him as a celebrity.
Hmm.
So I definitely say him. I, I I'd say those are two that I think about quite a bit.
Hmm.
I say jokingly my favorite actor is Miles Teller because I really do enjoy him in a lot of stuff. I think he hasn't found his, despite the fact that he was in some super successful movies like Top Gun and some really good dramas like Whiplash. I don't think he's found his niche yet.
No.
I
Yeah.
think he could be really good if he was set up with the right comedic script.
Hmm.
I think he could do really well there, and he just
Hmm.
hasn't found the right spot yet.
Agreed. And with Daniel Kaluuya, I first noticed him in Black Mirror. He was in a
Yeah.
episode called 15 Million Credits. And I was like, oh,
Yes.
who is this dude? And then it was just before I watched Get Out, and I was like, oh, this dude is good.
Oh yeah.
And I love, for anybody who has not seen it, and I don't know if you've seen it, have you watched the Oscars when he won for Judas and the Black Messiah and and delivered his speech?
I don't remember it. I remember watching it, but I don't remember his speech. What did he say?
Well, I'm not gonna say he was like he was under influence of certain a drug, but he seemed quite relaxed and he seemed quite. He said, "Oh yeah, my mom and dad they had sex and now I'm here," and, uh, and there was a shot because he's obviously he's British, so his mom and his I believe sister were watching it from London. They had like a theater set. It was during
Right.
COVID, so they had like theater set up for families around the world, and he cut to her and his mom was like, "What did you just say?" What? And it's just for anybody who hasn't seen it, just go on YouTube, Daniel Kaluuya Oscar, and watch his speech. It's like 4 minutes or so. It's great. This dude is just such a vibe
All right.
and a great actor.
Oh yeah. I'll check that out again. I don't remember that, but I'll check it out.
No, like again, I don't want to accuse anybody of anything, but I have a feeling he either might have had one too many drinks or some sort of a weed of like instance where he was quite chilled. I was like, damn, like him. I really like
He
him.
was mellowed out in case he lost, but
Yeah.
he wasn't gonna
And
lose.
then he won, and I was like, oh damn, that's happened. So who do you think is the most underrated actress we have right now?
Um, Having just rewatched Dune,
Hmm.
I think Rebecca Ferguson has been typecast in the
Mm.
because of her success in Mission Impossible,
Yep.
and because that's where she really had her breakthrough. I think she is capable of a lot more than people give her credit, and I think it'd be good some if she could get some traction with other directors who might be able to get her some success in that
Yes.
facet. Because I think, despite her capabilities and knowing that she's really good,
Hmm.
I think she's just going to be stuck in the like, that's Tom Cruise's sidekick or that's the mom from Dune.
Yeah.
And I think getting her into a drama would be really good. Or maybe even something that like a Greta Gerwig movie, whatever she makes next. I know she's making the Narnia movies. That could actually be interesting. Her as the White Witch. That
Hmm.
could be something good. But that's more of the same of like big franchise IP. I
Yeah.
think getting her into something more original would be a good idea.
I was so amazed by her performance in Doctor Sleep as Rose the Hat.
Yes.
Like, I know
Great.
Academy doesn't award, yeah, just like Academy doesn't award, actors in horror movies. So her Toni Collette in Hereditary and Lupita Nyong'o in Us, they were both, to my know, like to my mind, they were both snubbed. And if had they been nominated, I wouldn't have blinked an eye. They should have been. And Rose the Head, she was a proper scary villain, and Rebecca Ferguson just lost herself in that role. She was so good. Like I was mesmerized by her in that movie.
I gotcha. Yeah.
That's yeah, so like that's a great pick. Like she is kind of it is weird. Like she is in these big movies like Dune, obviously now then second one, and other stuff, but it still seems like and obviously Mission Impossible, but it still seems like if you come to somebody on the street and tell them Rebecca Ferguson, I don't know whether your common Joe would know exactly who she was. You know what I mean? I feel like she's one of those who's just on the cusp of being like proper A-lister. Like she's almost there, but she's not like household name. You know
I
what I
agree.
mean?
Yeah, I think she is nearly there.
Hmm.
But when we were watching Dune yesterday, I was asked by my family, like, who's that actress? And I had to remember it was Rebecca Ferguson. But
See,
she's terrific, and we need her in more stuff. No Marvel.
100%.
Let her do her own thing.
100%. And I retrospectively thank your family for proving my point.
They
Who do,
appreciate you, Luke.
who do you think is the most underrated director we have right now?
So he's done quite a bit,
Hmm.
but it's mostly in the comedy area, and I don't remember his name, so I'm going to look him up. But
Okay.
he actually made Easy A some time ago, and he also made uh, Friends with Benefits. Will Gluck,
I was gonna say, is he the guy behind Anyone But You just now?
he is,
Yes.
and I think this guy has a very good comedic touch, and he's
Hmm.
strong at getting funny performances out of people, and still having some dramatic moments here or there. I think letting this guy have a big comedy again would be fantastic. I think comedies will never be at the point where they're making 400, $500 million, but
Hmm.
this guy has something. This guy has the sauce.
Well, Anyone But You is a massive hit. They just
Yeah.
almost touched 200 million worldwide. So it's a huge success for him and for Sydney Sweeney, for Glenn Powell.
Oh yeah,
So that was a big surprise for pretty much everybody. And that movie is actually pretty good. Like
I
I
enjoyed it.
enjoyed it.
I did too. Low, very very low side of loved it.
I would say like yeah, like the yeah, like exactly. Look, I didn't think it was gonna be as funny, but it was actually funny and it was sweet.
Yeah,
And Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield is a jam. It's been on my playlist way before this movie, and I'm so glad that it's more people are like, yeah, this is kind of jam.
yeah, it's definitely a banger, and I'm gonna have to keep listening. I'm gonna go listen to that one as I drive to get Chipotle after this.
Nice. I know this is an impossible question, but do you have a movie that sticks to your mind when I say underrated?
Not really,
Okay. All right.
not really. There's lots of good stuff out there, and
Yeah.
I think the right people see the right movie for them. I think there's not a lot of movies that are improper. I think there's movies that become cult classics
Hmm.
because they're not seen by a larger audience and
Hmm.
loved by a larger audience, but maybe it's because was meant to be a niche for those people. Like I love Scott Pilgrim versus the World, but I wouldn't call it underrated. I
Yeah.
think saying art is underrated is kind of it's not incorrect, but it's the wrong idea.
Hmm.
Certain people appreciate different pieces of art in a different way.
Yeah.
And I try not to say the word cinema just because it bothers me when someone means it in a way outside of a literal like I'm going to the cinema when they're like, what a work of cinema. It's like, this art medium you're talking about, yeah, it gave us Godfather. It also gave us, Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. It
Space
also,
Jam.
yeah, it gave us Space Jam 1 and 2. So it's art, sure, but it's not to be worshipped. And I think
Hmm.
saying something being overrated or underrated, it
Hmm.
really is just up to you how you
Hmm.
like something. And there's no right or wrong answer all the time. I mean, if you hate The Godfather because you think it's poorly acted, maybe you need to have somebody teach you what they're doing. But,
Hmm.
you know, you're allowed to have your wrong opinions.
Yeah. That's all right. That's fair. So I'm guessing is there the same for TV show?
Yeah, I think it's the same kind of way.
That's fair. I
Underseen might be a better word.
okay, do you have a movie or TV show where you would rate or you would consider underseen?
I mean, it's always sad when you see a big movie
Hmm.
not make its budget back.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun because it's like, look at the flop, haha. But it's also like the Flash movie that came out last year.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare production and a nightmare marketing that movie. And the movie got flamed and roasted constantly by people because it looked stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie couldn't, but the studio had to release this movie. There were jobs writing on this. Like they
Yep.
had to do it. I think it's always a bummer when a big movie isn't as loved as it could be or not as seen because it means people are going to be out of work. I'm trying to think of one currently that I would say is kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
I always think the older, not older, the newer Planet of the Apes movies are a bit underseen because even though people who've seen them do love them and they do respect them,
Mm-hmm.
it's not in the forefront of everybody's conscious. It's not like these movies are the biggest thing of all time. Like they
Yeah.
kind of just they suffered because it was a good franchise and a good trilogy that came out in the midst of Marvel at its absolute peak.
Yeah.
It was tough to be a franchise in the at the moment when the Avengers were crushing it every other year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like you were in there, you were guaranteed to be in their shadow. So I'd say those movies are definitely underrated and underseen.
Okay. I like that answer. That's I never actually considered the Marvel point that yeah, I don't hear besides people beside the Sith people really. I don't really hear anybody bringing up like the new Planet of the Apes trilogy. We even though it is great, like those movies are amazing. So
Yeah.
and they should be talked about more often. So I do like that answer.
At the
Well,
same time, I've seen the trailer for the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes movie like 3 times now, and I'm like, I don't know how interested I am in this. This kind of looks dumb.
I still haven't seen that trailer because I'm now kind of avoiding trailers just, as much as possible. I just try to just go to the cinema and just experience it, on my own. I'm sure I'll watch it before some movie and I'm like, oh, all right, let's go.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's gonna be it's no, it's I don't even know what is it about, but I'll see soon. Or
yeah.
we will see soon. Anyway, like I really appreciate your time and you've been answering very patiently and politely all of my questions. So let's flip the table now. Do you have any questions for me?
Did you see Flora and Son this last year?
Did I see what?
The movie Flora and Son.
Flora and Son. No, I know of the movie. I haven't seen it. No.
Okay. I thought that was a really good movie.
Okay.
It's not based in Scotland where you are.
Hmm.
But it's a really interesting British movie, not British movie. It's a really interesting movie about this mom, a single mom and her son and trying to take care of him and trying to help him out.
Hmm.
I guess this is my question based on where you live. What is your perspective on American football movies?
American football movies. Oh, well, I like Any Given Sunday. That's like American football. That's like the first thing that came to my mind. It's like, oh, American, yeah. I see. So, and this kind of goes for baseball movies.
Hmm.
Until recently, I'm not avoiding them per se, but like like for example, I don't follow baseball, American football, basketball. However, basketball. I know how the game is played. So when I see a basketball score, I'm not confused. When I see a baseball score and when I hear people like Heath talk about baseball, I'm like, this game is so confusing to me. I'm sure it's not that bad, but like, I have no interest in it. But I know many Americans are into it and all power to you. And the same kind of goes for American football. Funnily enough, I know some people here who actually stay up overnight and watch the Super Bowl live, as it happens in America.
Wow.
But I'm not one of them. But as far as movies, again, I try to watch those movies as well to expand my mind, expand my, horizons, all that. And though American football, is there anyone besides? Give me some besides America. Like, I still haven't seen Remember the Titans. That just came to my mind.
That's a big one. I'd say there was a lot more peak American football movies in the
Mhm.
90s and 80s.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not technically, it's not only about American football, but Jerry Maguire is about a football agent.
No, that's a great
Um,
movie, but yeah, it's not. Yeah, it is, but
not
it's
really
not.
about
Yeah,
football.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'd say you kind of got to get into some classics like Brian's Song, from a
Hmm.
long time ago is a
Hmm.
big one. Uh, I think Remember the Titans might be the. It's not the best football movie, but it's what comes to mind when I think of a football classic because
Okay.
that is kind of the underdog story, but it's not. It's more of a overcoming a societal issue story.
Hmm.
I probably say those two are pretty good ones. There's a there was an underrated one. It is more about football than any other movie, but Draft Day that came out a couple of years ago, it's just a piece of garbage. Every like serious football fan is like, this would never happen.
Hmm.
None of this could happen. It's just inconceivable. But check
Yeah.
it out. It's more about the inner workings of an
Hmm.
American football team than it is about an actual game. But
I have heard of that movie, and I know Kevin Costner and also Chadwick Boseman are in the movie.
yeah,
So
and it was crazy to see Chadwick Boseman in that movie and then see him in the Black Panther movie
yeah.
because he looks absolutely jacked in Draft Day. Like he looks like an actual American football player, how big he
Hmm.
is. And
But to
it's
yeah, on you go.
he just looks huge. And
Hmm.
I remember watching it because I only saw it this last year and I was like, he's the only one who got the memo that he needed to show up and look massive because everybody else looks fine, but he looks like a big football player, and I appreciated seeing him do that. It was like seeing Hugh Jackman work out to be Wolverine,
Yeah.
but for 5 minutes of screen time, as opposed to like being the lead.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember from Black Panther, he was quite buff in that movie too, but I like so you reckon Draft Day he was even like bigger.
Oh yeah, he looked even bigger.
Okay, okay.
Like
All right.
in Black Panther, I'd say he looked ripped
Hmm.
in because he looked very defined and but he had good muscle
Hmm.
definition and still good size muscle. In Draft Day, he
Hmm.
looks like he ate that other version of himself because he looks like a bodybuilder almost. He's
Okay.
just huge.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to check it out. But to answer your question properly, so I've only seen one. Well, like yes, I have seen Maguire, but again, that's more of an agent movie and Tom Cruise movie rather than football movie. And I really enjoyed Any Given Sunday. So and but see, like my issue is I don't follow the game. So if they say this team, was never won, or this team has, we all know how this team does. I'm like, well, yeah, I don't because I'm not American. And same as a baseball. Like, it took me until now to watch a great, in my mind, baseball movie because I've just recently watched A League of Their Own. Fast,
Yes.
great movie. And it's the first baseball movie I've actually enjoyed. And I have watched Moneyball. I'm one of the few people who was just Moneyball is just okay, but also it's been over a decade, so I need to rewatch it. But yeah, like baseball, it's one of those other games where like I know there are great movies made about them, and I know there are like worshipped movies about this game, and I'm kind of afraid to watch them because like I don't follow the game, so it's almost unfair because I almost feel like it's never gonna hit me as hard as it. When I think of baseball, I think of Heath because we had a great discussion about baseball.
Right.
And so I'm never gonna be as close to the game as he is. So it almost feels like I shouldn't watch it because I will probably just be like, yeah, that's fine. And there will be like people are like, no, this is fucking great, and here's why.
Hey, there's some football movies that people will defend to the death, but hey,
Hmm.
there's some garbage out there too, and there's some garbage basketball movies out there. Here's an underrated one that you don't really have any context to see it. It's called Gridiron Gang. It actually is The Rock is in this movie as a football coach,
Oh.
where he's a juvenile detention counselor,
Hmm.
and to get these kids to do some non academic activity, he convinces them to form a football team because they have to go to school while they're in this juvenile detention. So it's basically like they're a small charter school
Hmm.
football team. And it's very interesting. And I don't, he's in it. The old rapper Exhibit's in it. The guy who
Oh.
played Shia LaBeouf's dad in Transformers is in it.
Mm.
Like, so I don't know any of the other actors who play the actual football players, but it was a really fun movie when I was younger. I got to rewatch that somehow.
When you said they are, they are doing this because of, instead of like punishment, I immediately thought of another one, The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler.
Yes.
That's a football movie, and that's one of the few Sandler comedies I actually enjoy.
Yeah, I don't always love Adam Sandler comedies either, but I think he's I think he's terrific when he has it right. He really has it right.
Correct, correct. He's got some gems in his, not just the uncut gems, but the, other comedic gems.
Speaking
In
of
his,
athletes and acting roles, Kevin Garnett is terrific in Uncut Gems.
oh yeah, he was pretty good. But yeah, see, for me, I didn't know he's an athlete because like he's a basketball player, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
you wouldn't
see,
know it seeing him in that movie because he looks tall, but he doesn't look freakish. But in real life, he's 7 feet tall.
Jesus.
He is, yeah, he is an incredibly large man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like speaking of like basketball players, like I know of LeBron because everybody knows LeBron, right? And when he said before, like he's got a good comedy chops. Yeah, he's actually I've seen some videos of him of his like from the games and stuff, and he seems to be actually funny dude. So,
Yeah, I
uh,
think there's some talk that when he retires, he kind of wants to get into that.
mm,
He kind of wants to do more of that. But there's also talk that he wants to buy an NBA team when he has the ability to do so because he's worth $1 billion at this point.
well, yeah.
And as he gets older and just focuses more on finances and business, he'll probably be worth more money. So
Mm-hmm.
he'll buy a team at some point. The rumor is the NBA will expand and create a new franchise in Las Vegas. And he's kind of been handpicked to own that team when the time comes.
Ah,
But
okay.
it's kind of an under the table thing at this point, not confirmed by anybody.
I'll be quiet. I'm not gonna say a word to a single soul. I'll promise. Any other question for me?
That's it. Thank you so much for bringing me on, Luke. I appreciate
No,
it.
honestly, thank you for taking the time of your day. I truly appreciate it. If people enjoyed our conversation, where would they go and follow you? Where can they find you?
So on the app formerly known as Twitter, my username is samburger9296, and on Letterboxd, I am Cinematic Sam 623.
I always loved the handle Sam Burger. Just there's something so goofy about it. It's one
I
of
remember
those.
it years ago, and it's just stuck.
It's one of those. Don't get me. I hope you're not gonna take it the wrong way. It's so dumb. It's great. It's just
It is.
I've always loved that. So yeah, please give Sam a follow. He's a great one, on Letterboxd and X. Obviously, the links will be below. I can always be found on lostinmovies.co.uk, on my blog, or Lost in the Movies Lost on Letterboxd, and obviously this podcast. And as always, this podcast is part of SPDM Crew Media. Also, big shout out to HiFlyer Creative for designing my logo. To see what else they have happening, visit hiflyercreative.com. So until next time. Bye.